Arizona election officials face an unprecedented push by the Trump administration to overturn the president's 2020 election defeat in Maricopa County. This past week, we learned the FBI obtained reams of records of the vote from the Arizona State Senate, and Homeland Security investigations had questions about the election for the Arizona Attorney General's office. So, why is this happening 6 years after Trump's loss to Democrat Joe Biden was confirmed by independent investigations, court cases, and even a hand recount backed by Trump himself? The president gave us the answer in a testy exchange with a White House reporter this past week. Take a listen.
Sir, in Arizona, why did the FBI seize election records in that state?
Well, they probably thought the election was rigged, right?
It wasn't rigged, though.
Oh, really? How do you know?
Your own Attorney General in 2020 said that there was not measurable voter fraud to change the outcome of the election.
Think it was rigged? I think it was rigged.
There's no, sir, where's the evidence for that?
It wasn't rigged. You're a rock report.
So why launch these investigations now? And where are they heading? David Becker has a wealth of experience to answer those questions. He helps build trust in elections as executive director of the Nonpartisan Center for Election Innovation and Research. And he has experience on the legal side as well as a former senior trial attorney with the Voting Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice. He joins us now from Washington, D.C. Welcome to Square Off, David.
Thanks for having me on, Brad.
Now, in the open, I asked whether these investigations are just for show. And I'm wondering, isn't there a statute of limitations that precludes charges 6 years after an election?
Yeah, as you pointed out, this election took place almost 6 years ago. The Trump administration, the second Trump administration, has been in power for over a year. And all they've been able to muster at this point with regard to Arizona's elections is an apparent subpoena, which, to my knowledge, no one has seen yet, that sought documents that had already been reviewed years ago, held by an ally of the president, the Arizona Senate president, which he willingly gave to them. This is a pretty big departure and much weaker than what we saw just 6 weeks ago in Fulton County, Georgia, when a warrant was served. That warrant is now being challenged. And I think this represents that they're running out of tools in their toolbox to keep this false claim about the 2020 election alive. I'm not particularly concerned about this. These documents have been reviewed and reviewed over again and reviewed over again after that, counted and recounted, reviewed by Trump's allies. It's not the ballots themselves, it's digital ballot images apparently. But we'll have to see what the actual subpoena says. I think this is much more focused, not on any potential criminal charges. The statute of limitations has already run. This is also a problem in any other state. There is no underlying crime here. We know very well what happened in Arizona and other states in 2020. And I think this is more focused for that reason on 2026 and perhaps sowing seeds of doubt about an election that perhaps the president thinks his party might do poorly in.
One of the big questions we have here is, among those records, we don't know exactly what the Senate turned over, but we do know, as part of the Cyber Ninjas review in 2020, they did obtain voting records, voter registration records. Is it possible that is what these Trump investigators are going after, perhaps looking for instances of what they would claim as voter fraud?
Well, it's possible, but again, voter records in the state of Arizona are public. Voter histories are public. These have been reviewed and reviewed again and again and again. And there has been virtually no fraud found in Arizona elections. Arizona runs excellent elections. You know, we recall a few weeks ago, Secretary Noem, who was then Secretary of Homeland Security, held a press conference arguing that the SAVE Act should be passed in the only state in the nation where documentary proof of citizenship and photo ID have been implemented for years, including during 2020's elections. Arizona runs excellent elections. They've been scrutinized like no elections in American history, and we know exactly what happened. So if they do look at those voter records, which are not secret files by any means, they're going to find the same thing that every other review has found, which was that the Arizona election in 2020 was secure, and we know the outcome was confirmed.
Now, you know the U.S. Department of Justice is in court right now here in Arizona trying to get those voter records from Adrian Fontes, the Secretary of State. He believes that these two investigations are an attempt to do an end around the court and get the voter records another way. Do you see that as a possibility?
I'm not quite sure why the DOJ is seeking these records. Arizona isn't alone. Arizona is among 28 other states and DC that have been sued. A small minority of states, all led by Republicans, have handed over this sensitive voter data. It's not the voter data itself that the DOJ is seeking. It is seeking highly sensitive data that no one has access to because it's protected under state law. They are seeking Social Security numbers. They are seeking driver's license numbers. They're seeking dates of birth, data that makes up the holy trinity of identity theft. And this federal government, this particular administration, has done a particularly bad job of protecting that data. Just this week, we learned that a whistleblower basically walked out of that a DOJ employee, rather, walked out of the Social Security Administration with just megabytes, gigabytes of sensitive data that the federal government held and was protected. So I think states, red and blue, Republican and Democrat, who are withholding that sensitive data are doing it very, very wisely. Again, it's not that the DOJ could find any problems here. Arizona has excellent and clean voter rolls. Arizona has required documentary proof of citizenship for years now. Arizona pioneered online voter registration, which makes voter rolls even more accurate and secure. But it's likely that all of these efforts, whether it's the warrant in Fulton County, the subpoena in Maricopa County, the efforts to seize sensitive voter data, the executive order issued by the president back in March that it was blocked by 3 different federal courts, that these are all aimed more at 2026 than at 2020, just in case the president's party does poorly. I expect we'll hear more disinformation about elections where candidates that he supports lost.
You mentioned that sensitive data, the voter registration info, the Social Security numbers. I'll ask you to speculate. Is it possible that Senate President Warren Peterson may have violated the law by handing over some of that information to the grand jury?
So I don't know enough of. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. That's a question that needs to be answered. I am not going to speculate about it whatsoever. I don't know what Peterson had in his possession and whether any of the information that he had in his possession, first of all, whether chain of custody of those documents and that data was maintained over the years and years that the Senate was holding it. And then secondarily, whether any of it is protected under state law. A subpoena like this could require that. It might not. Again, it's very unusual that you see Peterson literally tweet about complying with a subpoena. And to my knowledge, he hasn't released the subpoena yet for public review, which I think is an important part of this. I think we'll need to take a look at that and have some questions answered.
We have seen the president use some of these criminal investigations to basically impoverish his enemies. If you're a target, you got to lawyer up, and that's expensive. Do you think elections officials here, elected officials, should prepare to get lawyers?
So I think election officials don't have anything to worry about. I don't think there's any crime that's been committed. I don't think we've seen attempts to rain down revenge on the president's enemies, people like James Comey and Letitia James. Those have failed. So I don't think election officials have anything to worry about. But I think there's a legitimate question as to whether or not these are attempts to bully election officials and other public servants into perhaps backing away from their duties that they've sworn an oath to do in ensuring safe, secure elections in Arizona and other states. My organization runs something called the Election Official Legal Defense Network, which is at eoldn.org. And we recruit lawyers from all over the country who are willing to work with election officials pro bono at no cost to assist them if they have any incidents like that. I can tell you that we've done this in Arizona and dozens of other states. And if any election official out there watching this has any concerns about any kind of legal matter related to their duties, whether it's be civil or criminal, they should go to eoldn.org. They can be matched with an attorney who will help them. No public servant should be bankrupted trying to defend themselves against frivolous claims like we're seeing right now.
All right. David Becker, thank you so much for your insight. Take care.
Thank you, Brett.